And I should unmute my mic before I start talking. I was just saying that this stream is brought to you today by me and my 5-year-old who's home from school today and is watching Waffles and Mochi and singing to herself. So you might hear her in the background occasionally, but otherwise everything should be pretty normal. So what we're going to do today, we're going to carry on with the Spaceship Dogfighting game, and that should be awesome. I am gonna just fire it up. Other things you should take a look at. We've got a game template for the Ultimate Parkour Heist game, and you can use that to make nice, cool parkour courses like we did with the stream yesterday with Preston. That was super fun. Where is my game? Here it is. So as normal, we'll just start off taking a look at where we got up to last time. So right now, the thing we were working on mostly last time was a bit more of the flight dynamics. So there's and shooting as well. So we have a throttle now, which is Q and E on the keyboard. You can kind of see the throttle value in the top left-hand corner. And so we can fly through space steadily. And there's a bit of momentum on the stick as well, so it takes a bit of time to get up to full power. And we added some better drag and some better kind of like just general use of forces. So it's kind of feeling much nicer to fly around in space now as you cruise about. We're probably going a bit slow, I think, just from how I've judged it. Fighting against other people, or not fighting against other people, but flying around with other people. So we need to do some balancing on that. We need to make something that's a bit more representative of how large a map should be. And like these carriers are very much like just kind of made up scale. And now we have a ship model. We can build something that's maybe, or work out what would be a better sort of scale for these sorts of things to build it. But in the meantime, let's get the task list up for today. So here we go. Things that we're going to do today. We have our bullets, and right now, if you're not going full speed, like if we increase if I go back in here and I increase our throttle, the faster you're going right now, like the bullets start coming out pretty slowly in relation to your speed. So obviously the bullets should inherit our velocity. And you can see those bullets are just heading out straight in a line from the guns that we got on either side. And the way weapons work, if they're on the wings of like an aircraft, or in this case a spaceship, is that they need to have convergence. So at some point in front of the ship, their bullets will meet together, and they'll basically be aimed in that direction. And we're going to make that configurable, so our guns will point in depending on where we've got our convergence set. And if we really wanted to, as a control, we could have like the option to change your convergence and all of this sort of thing. Once we have that, we can put a crosshair on the screen so you have some way of aiming. And then hopefully we'll finish off with some like at least hit detection and maybe putting a particle effect on when bullets hit something. But if not, then maybe some damage as well. Like we'll see how far we get through this list. And as usual, we're going to finish with a playtest, a multiplayer playtest, because this is all multiplayer. But now I've flown off into space. I need to stop the game and start doing some work. So this is our ship. These are the guns here. This is our cockpit. This is where the camera lives. And this is where all of the actual controls for the ship live. So it's kind of interesting in that it looks nothing like a spaceship whatsoever. But this is just the controller for our player. This is what the player's flying around in. And you'll see a proper spaceship for everybody else. Let me just bring up chat just in case anybody's saying anything. They're not. But what we're going to do now is just to start working on some of the bullet stuff. So we have in here templates, and we want my templates that I have in here. And I have this gun projectile template, which I'll bring out. And right now it just moves forward at like a specified speed, which is currently 1,000. So probably like, we can edit this script and make these numbers somewhat bigger. Can I edit the script? Because it doesn't belong to me. I can remix it though. And now it does belong to me. So I want this to be 10,000 to 10,000. And I'll save it. And this is probably still the old version. So I'll remove it and add the new one on. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to create a total new one. I wanted to grab the one I just made. Cool. And so I had it at 1,000, and that was a bit slow because when you're going 800 units, that's already like quite a lot of catching up it has to do. So let's double that to 2,000 to start off with. We don't need to worry about this script anymore. The other thing it doesn't do is destroy any of our bullets right now. So they just disappear infinitely into space, which is realistic, but is not very useful from a performance or from a just from a like knowing how many entities and where things are in the game sort of sense. So we're going to need to remove them after a period of time is what I'm going to choose to do, because these are very straightforward, simple. They're just moving through space. So if we just delete them after a period of time, then we can do that. I think there's a script that does this. Not delete, if guessed. Remove after time. Remove after timer plus tag. Remove if no parent. Remove after delay, a script I wrote. So yeah, we can just have a delay on there. And like, what's an appropriate amount of time? I don't know right now. Let's try 5 seconds. And this is just a very simple script that calculates when the end time will be. And if it reaches the end time, then it will remove the entity. So we can basically get up our menu and update the template from the entity. And that way changes are applied to it. And then we can run the game and go into the cockpit. Then we can shoot and we can see stuff's going faster. And it kind of disappeared at some stage. Can we still shoot if we're in here? Yes, so we can probably... Whoops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to fly around and see if we could see where they were disappearing. So we can face back down and shoot from here. We can see the bullets fire past. And they're kind of like shooting off way over here. So that's probably... Like if we count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Whoa, they go past nice and quick now. So I think that's okay for now. We can modify that later as things change. So the other thing we want to do now that we're destroying our bullets is the first task, which is the bullets are inheriting the ship's velocity. And so we have that move forward script. And what it doesn't do right now is let you modify that sort of move forward velocity. So we can go in here and we can just have an add impulse function. And we can have an amount. And that's going to be a number. And we're going to use this because we have like our speed. And so we can keep our speed up to date with this speed plus equals amount. And an impulse is just a change in velocity that happens instantaneously, which is why I'm calling it that. And that's cool. So when we shoot things, we can now call this add impulse function to speed everything up. This is the wrong thing, apparently. Where's all my other scripts? Here are my other scripts. I had multiple things selected. So we've got the weapon script thing, and we have our to do here. And so the first thing we're doing is this inheriting of the velocity. And we're basically creating two projectiles here, one from the left gun and one technically from the right gun, but I have a little copy paste error there. So it's getting the right gun's rotation. This will be important in a minute. And so we can have, we need to do two things actually. We need to work out how much velocity to add, and we need to send the event to add that impulse in. And so to start off with, to work out how much velocity to add in, we need to know how fast the ship's going. And we're going to do that in essentially the most basic way humanly possible. So right now there's no sense, like there is in here. We actually have some idea of how fast we're going. So we could query this directly, but then we're tying these things together quite directly, and this is currently private, and don't really have like a way of querying that. And also we might want to like otherwise mess about with this. So what I'm going to do instead is just use the previous position. So we're going to store this off. So at the end of here, we can do previous position is going to copy this entities world transform position. And so we can calculate the speed from the next frame by doing like the current position minus this position. So if the ship hasn't moved, this will be 0. If the ship has moved, it'll have some length to it, and we can use that length to be our current speed. Other things you might want to do, if like for a spaceship, your speed is fluctuating, I wouldn't say slowly, but there's not very much like high frequency change in there, like if somebody was spamming keys. So what we're going to do is just use this as our estimate of what the speed is. And you could use something more clever, like an average or like an estimated, what is the name of the term? Exponential kind of average of the kind of speed of the ship, which is quite handy if you want to remove those kind of like high frequency variations from things. But as we don't have that as a problem, or at least I don't think we do. So we can just do this dot previous position distance to this dot entity dot world transform dot position. That's from our distance from our previous position to the current position. And that is a distance, as it says. So we need to know how long it took us to get there. And that's just our game's frame delta time. So if we have rapid fluctuations in our frame rate, that's going to make this more or less accurate, inaccurate to what's going on. But that's okay, because that's kind of what's going to be happening under the hood anyway. And something we might do to sort that out. I do want to multiply it like that, Jordan. It's very handy that you came in just as I did it. And yeah, basically sorting that out. And the way we'd sort out wildly varying frame rates is just to fix the update loop. So we'd update at constant time. So if a longer frame had happened, we might do 2 updates in one actual tick, or one then 2, or 1 then 2 then 3, and that sort of thing, depending on how variable the frame rate was. So we have that current speed. Next, we just need to send this through to our entities. Or it's not gun, is it? It's bullet. And I'm just doing this with a lot of temporary variables. You could definitely do this in a more straightforward, or not in a more straightforward way, but in a less lengthy way. But this helps me understand what's going on. So we had add impulse as our event. And the amount of impulse we want to add on is our current speed. And so that now completes that loop. And the projectiles inherit an estimation of our current ship's velocity. So if we save that script, and we'll save the game as well, since I've fiddled with a bunch of stuff. No, I didn't. I only glanced over at chat and I was like, hang on a second, Jordan, I don't know what the timing was of those two comments, the collision of minds coming together. So yeah, so now we'll shoot and they'll shoot out in front of us pretty quickly. And if we start flying, they still will shoot that same speed out in front of us, no matter how fast we're going. And you can see if you're pulling like a turn pitching, everything will go off quite quickly into the distance. So that's pretty fun. Let's fly into the hangar. Whee! And all of that sort of stuff. So that works nicely. And we could, in fact, like have our projectiles go at like 100 units a second, and then they would always just creep away from us, basically. So that would be nice. So next stop is on our list of things to do. Where is my OBS gone? Here you are. So we've done this. And now we want to do gun convergence. The final frontier of guns doing awesome stuff. Here is chat again. So yeah. So there's a couple of things here, right? Like our guns right now are aligned with the ship. And maybe I think that's actually what we want. I mean, what we can do is align them with where our crosshair is as well. So that gets slightly more complicated, but maybe that's the right thing to do. Let's do that, because if you think about it, what you want is the convergence point to be under the crosshair, and you want it to be at some distance out in front. So when you put the crosshair on an enemy ship, if it's stationary, all of the rounds will hit that ship at that specified distance. So let's do that, which means we need to find our camera. Where did you go, camera? Here we go. So it's got pointer lock on there right now. We did have an aiming reticle script, so we'll add that back on just for now. And I wonder if we have like a decent crosshair that we can just use. There's some fun ones, yeah, that Charlie's made. Let's steal the rocket or SMIG one. Perfect. We're gonna have to play about with this a little bit. Middle of the screen. If we do this, will we see it? No, we need to play first. So that's what our crosshair looks like right now, which is okay. I maybe want to make that bigger as well. Is there a like sizing option there? Not right now. This is the main aiming reticule script. Why is it not remixable? I'm making it remixable and saving it because it's my script. Can I save it? Save. Oh, no, I saved it as a copy. Let's make that remixable, and then we can use the copy, and we can call it SD aiming reticule. The reason I'm making a copy is I just don't want to modify the script that's used by every single game that there is, essentially. Otherwise, we're kind of like screwing people over. And yeah, and next we've got the reticule voxel object. We can have a reticule scale as well. Somewhere between like 0 and 5 maybe. Be 1 by default. And this will just be in here. Am I spelling reticule right? I feel like that's wrong. So if we stop the game, and we save the game so we don't lose the camera change. And yeah, we keep going. The reticule scale currently is 1. If we play, how big is that? It feels like that's the same size. So maybe I've made a mistake. Oh, I know what I've not done. So this has still got the aiming reticule script on it. 0.5, 0.5, reticule scale 1, reticule object, smig from Charlie. Then we'll save it again because we need to make sure this camera is saved in the level, so we need to do that. Play the game again. That is ginormous. What does it look like in context? Very big. So 1 is way too large. And 0.2 is what it was on before. So maybe 0.4. Is that too big? Yes. So 0.4 was a bit too small. Let's go 0.3. I think that's better. It's starting to get to the point where like we're getting interference with the pixels, but that's fine, I think. We'll leave it like that for now. We have an aiming reticule that was further down here underneath the convergence, but we've done it first because we're not bound by the rules I set myself. So the other thing that this does in here really nicely is it lets us actually find out what direction everything's pointing in. If you give it a because the reticule can be anywhere on the screen, like right now it's right in the middle. The direction it's pointing in varies depending on what direction the camera is pointing in. So you can imagine, I'll describe that better with a picture. So what a camera has is called like you've got your camera, and that's an entity pointing in some direction, basically. What that is actually is a view frustum, which is one of these fun shapes. Kind of points out like a pyramid with the top cut off. And then there's the inside lines to that. And this is horribly, all of these should be aligned basically, but they're not because my drawing was terrible. And kind of the point is, if you're in the middle of the screen, then then the direction the camera will be facing will be pointing straight towards the middle of the opposite thing. But if you're off to one of the sides here, to meet the same position, it's going to have to point in a slightly sideways direction and more up. And similarly down, to meet the same position down here, has to point down this way. So as you move the crosshair or the reticle position around the screen, you've got to generate a slightly different direction from the camera in order to actually hit that location on the opposite side of the frustum. And that's because the camera is doing this kind of projection transformation of the scene, of all the objects in the scene, so that things further away look smaller, essentially. All it's doing is that. But this is kind of like, you know, to hit the point that's underneath here, we need to go off in a slightly different direction than the camera is actually facing, is all I'm trying to say. And so we're going to use that when we get down to it. And so in our weapon system, we need to know where the camera is. And we can get that from the game, which is really cool. This game camera entity. And if not camera, then we're going to return, because we can't do anything if we don't have the camera. And then we're going to get this reticule script, because we want to access that directly. And we don't do this a lot in our code, because you're kind of creating this hard link between the scripts. But for this, where we like need to know what the direction is, we could tie it together with two events maybe, but I think this is just simpler for right now. So we've got the reticule script. Now we can just call our function on it. So we've got direction. And so we can have our direction. And so this is where we're going to aim at. And simply the next thing we're going to do is have how far in front we want our convergence to happen. So convergence distance. And if we start off with like 600 units, then we can work out like our actual position. So like our aiming point, which we'll do like this, because I'm doing a bad job of doing this, is our direction multiplied. So this is not typed, but it's going to give us a vector 3. So we want to multiply that by our convergence distance. And then we want to add our camera position to that. So this is the point in space that we're aiming at, essentially. And so we can use this aiming point to adjust the gun's rotation. So we're copying the gun's rotation here and here, so that the projectiles are being fired down the barrel of the gun. And so to do that, what do we want to do? Well, we want to go from the left gun, transform to point at. Ooh, this is gonna be interesting. Actually, we should do this in the local space. It's probably easier. So this is the direction in world space. So the thing I'm thinking about, right? Let's draw the picture. I've got somebody soaring right outside my window as well, which is not what I was expecting. So from a top-down point of view, we have a spaceship, and it has some wings. And we have the camera, which is sitting here, looking forwards. And at some point out here, we've got our convergence location where we want our guns to point. And we've got a gun on this side and a gun on this side. And instead of them pointing dead forwards, we want them to point at our convergence target. And so you can kind of see that all of this is inside the local space of the ship. We've got the world space aiming point right now, but that doesn't really matter. Like, it's simpler to think about how we're going to just rotate things locally than it is to think about how we're going to rotate them about in the kind of like larger world. So we'll do it that way. So our direction is actually just, we do need the camera's position because that is important. In fact, we need all of this because we do want to make sure that we're like aiming off in the right direction. We just need to turn direction to be in the local space of the gun itself. No, because the gun is parented to the ship, so of this script, of this entity. So let's get that. Let's get we'll get the matrix out from our transform, and it could be good. World matrix. This entity world transform. Let's just see. Yeah, so we could do some of these like transformation things on there. So get the matrix out, and we have our aiming point. And we can keep this actually and just convert this to local space. So our world matrix, we can not apply it to here. Is it the other way around? Okay. Aiming point. And we want to apply a matrix 4. Is that in here? The world matrix. And so that will take... Do we want to do the inverse of this? Let's see what it comes out as. So ideally, this should be roughly convergence distance in front of the... in front of us, plus a bit. So we can do console.log this.entity.world_transform.position. Well, not local transform.position. Distance to aiming point. And if this is a giant number, then we know we're doing something wrong. It's good to sanity check things as you go. I haven't fired anything, so there we go. It's coming out as 499. I guess we should fly off and just, whoops. Let's go into the ship. Guess we should fly off a bit and just make sure that doesn't change. It does, so that's bad. So this is the fun thing with matrix transformations. So we can get, ooh. Why does get inverse not work? I wonder if we, okay. Let's clone our matrix so that we're not trying to inverse our thing into the same one. Expected 2 arguments but got 1. What did we do wrong? Throw on degenerate. I guess we'll say true. So now we're basically reversing our matrix, so it doesn't transform things from local space into world space. It goes from world space into local space, which is hopefully what we want. So we'll play again, get our log up just to see what values we get out. So now we get 760 all the time. And you can see that's a very similar number. It's because this spaceship is quite near the origin. So get this out of the way. Then we can start flying forwards, and it's still not working. Okay, we need to figure this out a bit more carefully. Hello, Ulbrun, how's it going?
The 3 Barbie boxes.
You want the 3 Barbie boxes?
Yeah.
You're going to have to go downstairs and ask your mama.
Yeah.
So, I've cocked something up because camera is moving all the time. I've done a lot of stuff all in one go, which I guess is the main problem. So the aiming point is there. And then we're applying this. Why does that give me the same value? Local transform. Let's not do that. Let's just skip this step altogether. So what we're saying is, like, from our world transform to where the aiming point is, that should remain static because the camera is being pushed along with us. Let's make sure that's correct first. And so if we do that, 627, which is more like it, our convergence distance is 600, and our ship is slightly offset position-wise from where the camera is. So, you know, that all makes sense. What am I doing next? Driving forwards. So now, yeah, it's staying, you know, it's moving slightly, but it is staying a fixed distance ahead of us. So that's good. So what we'll do instead is get our script stuff back up again. Let's just apply the world matrix without any of this inversing stuff. And log out the aiming point. Cancel this, comment to this out just now. So ideally, that is a very strange position. And I think as we start flying around, it is going to move, which is kind of heartening in some respects. But I think it's still doing the wrong thing. Just ignore the errors and see what this says. So that is what we want to see. 626, 87. You know, it's roughly what we had before. If we scroll up, where'd my mouse go? You have all of these vectors, and we've got 67. And I bet you if we just did the length of this vector, it would be roughly 67, blah, 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 blah. And you can see the X and the Y don't change, but the Z is ahead of us. So that is what we wanted to do. And just to prove that it works to ourselves further, let's go in here, get some forward speed up. And as we do this, this stays constant. So there we go. We had calculated the wrong thing. I was just doing the wrong distance. The pew is going. Oh, John, don't think you should be allowed to do puns anymore. Your punning rights should be revoked. But it's going good. Going very steadily. We're doing convergence right now. So yeah. Yes, Audrey. I can do that. I'll be back 1 second. I'm just attaching a thing to a Barbie house. Where did they go? On there. And the Barbie house is reconnected together again. Yeah, so we found the point of aim in local space. And now we can just alter our gun's rotations to match that. So local transform rotation. This is an Euler value. And so we actually need to do something slightly more clever to make this work. We'll get the matrix for this out. Now let's just think about it. You want to know the gun's local position, and then the direction. We can just, yeah, so we can look at that thing, I think. Let's see. Let's try it out. So yeah, const left gun matrix. The other thing we could do is we know the local position and we know this position. That gives us the direction we want to go look in. Yeah, my desk is in the middle of the house, so I can't escape people when they're home. So there's this handy look at function, and just because of shenanigans, the eye and the target positions are different. So we want to go from the left gun. Do we just have the position in here? No. Left gun, local transform position is the, yeah, we want to reverse these. So we want to go from the aiming point to that, and up is just going to be 0, 1, 0. And this is going to update all of the rotation of the gun to point from where it is right now in local space to where we're aiming at in local space, and try and keep everything aligned with the vertical axis. Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna do, and then I just need to apply it back to the gun. That is what I was failing to think about. Set matrix. So we can set it from the matrix that we've just fiddled with. And this should mean our left gun is shooting in the correct direction. So let's try it out. Will it be noticeable? I'm not shooting at all now. I've not hit play, that's why. So there we go. You can see the left gun is firing sideways now, across the stream of the right gun, and kind of like through the middle of the reticule because it's slightly higher up. So that's actually working nicely. So if we stop the game And then we just do the same thing for the right gun, but the opposite way around. Make sure we actually do it with the right gun. Yeah, it should definitely not shoot in the landing bay, huh? Save my script. Turn the editor off. Play the game. Go into the cockpit view. And now both guns are firing into each other, and you can see that their paths are crossing. So that means if we get some velocity going now, that if we were chasing somebody, we would be converging our bullets like 600 units away in front of them, and we'd be able to hit them under our current reticule with where it is, which is quite cool. So pew pew is on the go, and it also means that we also have like this point of aim as well. It's quite useful. Having some yaw control in there would be good though. I think that's something to add in probably next time now. And obviously like 600 units is way too close in front of us. If we stop the ship and turn around, we can take a like external view of that just to show what's happening. So like we can shoot back towards this, obviously. Yeah, definitely need a bit of yaw because you can't aim sideways. So if we go outside like this, you can kind of see from this point of view that it's converging like roughly here on the screen. So if I fire, you can see that the two bits either side are shooting towards that. I don't know why, from this perspective, the actual guns aren't coming along. Oh, they've gone stubby. So yeah, what I've done is applied that rotation matrix to this, but it's killed the scaling factor that was applied to them. So you can't see the guns anymore. So we need to fix that as well. Or separate out the visual element of the guns from this one, which is probably the better way to do it. So that's pretty good from one perspective. Let's find the silly player ship controller. And our convergence is 600, and that is like way too close. If we make our convergence like 2000 and shoot again, we can see that they go straight for much longer now. Can we see where they start to converge even? You can see they're starting to converge now. So they're like starting to converge right over here, which is quite a long way away. And really to figure out how that feels, we need to do it. So you can still see them crossing in the distance there. So this means like if you're right up behind somebody, for example, then you might have problems hitting them with both guns. I think maybe our guns are slightly too far out sideways in that instance. So maybe like 2000 is still too far, but we'll keep that as just a working guess. So the other thing we need to do is save the game. Save the game, please. So our scaling is messing up these guys. And all I'm going to do is just duplicate them. If it would let me duplicate them. It won't let me duplicate them because they're parented. Whoa, I did not want that to happen though. How am I going to do this without it being very annoying? So this is like the visual position of it, which is maybe okay actually. It's interesting. What is their scale? 3. What's their scale that isn't just a thing? They're 30 on the Z axis. Do I just save out the scale and apply it again when I change these things? That's the hacky way of doing it. I just don't want to copy these because I'll have to reposition them. Oh well, let's do that. That's fine. We can just snip out our position value. In fact, let's not do that. Oh, I actually wanted to keep you open. You can snip out the local position, which is now handily being turned into grey. Oh, why do I keep closing that? That's better. So that's what I want. Did I make it multiplayer? Yes, it's multiplayer now. Sorry I didn't reply. The flying around and shooting is multiplayer. To answer John's question, will there be asteroids to blow up for titanium ore that repairs your health? No. I think we're going to do shields. And so like any damage you take will be permanent, but you'll have shields that recharge and some energy management. So you'll be able to put all your shields to the back, put all your shields to the front, put extra power into recharging your shields, or take power from your engines and put it into your shields and things like that. So like part of the game will be balancing that sort of side of things. But yeah, I did, Tunisia, I made it. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce your name. If you tell me how to do it properly, I will make sure I do. But yeah, we didn't make it multiplayer for one reason and one reason only. And that was just... No, we did make it multiplayer. What am I talking about? Everything is multiplayer now, so you can fly around together and there's like a third-person ship view. It's very cool. I'm confusing myself now. I'm making copies of these guys. And this one. Yeah, so one of these is going to be the visual representation, and the other one is going to be where the thing shoots from. So this is just going to go back to being a scale of 1. And interestingly, they're keeping the Z scale there. And that can still be a scale of 1 as well. And then these two are going to parent back to the ship again. And then the position I had before was going to set them one at a time. And the local space was 40 and 10 and 40. And then this one is minus 40, 10, and 40 again. So these are positioned correctly. And then this one, I'm going to have to rename all of these. So left gun. And this is the cosmetic. And this is going to be on parented to the left gun position. And I wish there was just a zero out these values for me button. And that'll put it on top of there. And because it's parented, when we rotate it in our convergence script, it'll go pointing in the right direction. This is the cosmetic version. And this is just the right gun position. And we do the same thing again. Right gun. And 0, 0, 0. Can I give you the link? Yep, absolutely. And MP equals space. If you connect a couple of like browser tabs to that, then you'll be able to fly around with yourself, which is super fun. So now we've got the guns sat back on here again, and they're parented to the thing that we're actually changing the transform of. They'll now point in the right direction, he said, feeling confident in his own abilities not to screw things up. It's going to break. So if we play, go back into this view, get the entity search out the way. You can see the guns there. If we shoot, as soon as we shot the guns, did you see that they moved into line for the convergence? That's going to be an amusing thing to play with. So if we get this, and do I still shoot? Yep. So if we get the weapon system and we do that convergence like down to 60, for example, next time I fire, you can see the guns are now pointing right in. And if we do 1,500, then they'll swap back out to here, and you can see where they're converging just in front of us. 2,000 is now converging even further into the future. Into the future? I guess it is the future, sort of. And yeah, just shooting off in front of us. All the convergence is there nicely, and our gun models, when they're more exciting than a grey cube, will be pointing in the right direction. We can also do this for our like third-party models, third person view model as well, if we wanted to have like the guns gimbal in that view, but it's not strictly important. Let's save this. Yeah, like John, there was a game ages ago called X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, which is one of the very like late 90s, end of the 90s games. I was one of the first to have really good internet multiplayer, and kind of like it's always been a dream of mine to kind of remake that sort of thing. And so this is a bit of a homage to that in that sense, because you know that that game doesn't really exist anymore, so it'll be nice to remake it. Yeah, so what were we doing next? Where are we up to? I'm just gonna which button is flying? You can press Q and E to set throttle, then WSAD to then WSAD steers you. So the biggest change that we made to shoot. Oh no, our internet died. The stream is telling me you're getting nothing. No, it's back. Something died for a second. So if there's a hiccup there, I apologize. I was saying essentially, yeah, so we've got a throttle in there. And the reason to have the throttle in there is just to give more finesse to how you're flying. So you're trying to maintain a certain velocity. We could add in, like, it depends on how the game goes, but like if you're at full throttle for too long, maybe your spaceship overheats, just things like that, to add like a bit of like, you could imagine if everybody has the same ship and they all have the same capabilities and they're all at full throttle and turning with each other all the time, then nobody can really get ahead of anybody else within the way things are modeled right now. Like if you're in a flight simulator, you have gravity as well, and that adds quite a lot of nuance to like how you're flying. So the more you're turning and pulling up against gravity, the more like energy you're losing. Whereas if you're turning down with gravity, you're gaining some energy or losing less of it if you're turning and getting really draggy. So in a space game, you kind of want to make up some like an additional factor like that, which is kind of like what I'm thinking about all the time for these sorts of things. We have drag when you start turning, you slow down, and we have like an ideal turn rate position. So you'll actually, if you're going at the right speed, you'll turn faster than if you're like full throttle. So there's already a bit of finding the balance there, and managing your like throttle setting to keep you in the sweet spot. And then managing the energy thing that we'll borrow from X-Wing versus TIE Fighter will be cool, and so on. I was just looking at where I was up to. We've done actually quite a lot of this now. We're ripping through my list of things to do. So we added a crosshair already, hit detection and damage. So this is probably where we find having a round fired every 0.1 seconds is very quickly going to become super expensive, because we're going to start doing raycasts to track every single shot. And so the template we had before for the bullet is this one, the famous red cube. And all it's doing right now is just moving forwards and being removed after a delay. Doesn't even have collision on it, and we don't want collision because we're just going to raycast to see if it's going to hit anything. Is essentially the way we're going to make this work. So we're going to call this script SD projectile hit. Hit. Makes sense. Can call it something better later. And it doesn't really need to do anything in here particularly. So every tick, if it's not the owner, is owned locally, and it'll return. So we're only going to track our own bullets basically. For everybody else's bullets, we're going to ignore what's going on. Hello, Chris. How are you? And what we're going to do is raycast. So we want the results, and this game.raycast get entities with collider intersecting ray. So we need a ray. New ray. And our ray is going to have an origin and a direction. So origin's easy. So our entity world transform position. And our direction is actually quite easy as well, because it's the entity world transform dot get forward. Okay, so we've got our ray, and we want to plug it in here. Our ray length, how long do we want to shoot this off into space? Well, the interesting thing is that we need to know how far we've moved, or how far we're going to move in this. So we need in here to tell anybody what our new speed is. So this entity send event changed velocity, and well, I guess speed is a better word for it. And I did actually remix this, so I'm going to rename this as well so it matches the other scripts. So whenever we add impulse, we're going to change the speed, and that's every time we shoot right now. And then this can respond to change speed. It's going to get the new speed through. And we can hold in here. So we could, for example, add like a script on later. The project's coming along great. Really, we're making super progress today, given that we've only been live for like an hour and 5 minutes, and quite a lot of our like shooting, like basic shooting logic is already done. So all that's happening here is that when the speed changes, we're just storing off what the current speed is, so we don't have to keep looking it up all the time. And that could be useful, for example, if there was like some way like our projectiles started losing energy or something like that, we could model that in here, and this script wouldn't need to know about the modeling side of things. It would just get updates as the speed changed. So how far we want to look is our current speed divided by the delta time. So how far we're going in the amount of time that has elapsed is this. Do we want to use the collision layer mask? Not right now. So this is going to give us a list of results. Result of results. And we're just going to go through every single result. In fact, do we need to go through any of the results? We might do. But for now, let's just log out. Like our results 0 entity name. And I guess we need to make sure if results.length is greater than 0, otherwise, or equals 0 will early out. So this means now every single bullet is going to do a raycast and tell us what it hits. And this is probably going to be bad. What is setup filters? So we play. Did I update my templates? I did not. I'm going to update the templates. So we've added this new script on there. We need to make sure that the templates that spawned in have it on them as well. We'll leave this fella in the scene. Now we'll just play. And then we can see when we fire, if we're not in this view, when we fire, that it doesn't hit anything. So that's interesting. Let's see if we fly forwards. I wonder if I turn the collision off on these. Is there anything with collision on it? So it's not hitting that. This is where we came from. I know for a fact there's one of the third-person ships in here. Huh. Okay, so we need to find something to shoot at. This does have collision on it, though. I'm pretty sure. Voxel object, static. It's on layer 0. That's all fine. So something else is causing the issue. What am I doing that's silly? Let's go in here. Raycast. This should be the simple, straightforward bit, because it's just raycasting in a straight line. Play. Right. We're raycasting, but we're hitting nothing. You can see there's a lot of, like, if we whack this, whoops, if we whack this, it starts doing quite a lot of those functions. but it's just hitting nothing, which is disappointing. Bum bum bum. Let's make ourselves something to shoot. That is the answer to this conundrum. Voxel object, red cube, because who doesn't like a giant red cube to shoot? Let's give this a box collider and chuck it out into space. So now we can go and shoot our red cube in space. Let's bring this up. Ooh, I don't want to go E in there. I want to click in here. Let's get that red cube. Okay, so something has gone horrifically wrong. Interesting. So the first thing I'm thinking is it's not getting this. It's not. It's called change speed. We should call it on change speed so we know it's a callback. That's a good idea. And then in here, yeah. So the reason it wasn't working is that we're doing like a 0 length raycast, which is super efficient, but not the right thing to do at all. So I think right now we can get rid of this guy, start the game. Okay, now, so it hit dogfight prototype carrier 1, which is this one. Did it hit anything else on its way out? We may have solved all of the issues in one go. Did seem to hit it for a while though. I should really do this before. Yeah, so I guess it gets out there pretty quick before it hits it, and then it flies out the other side for a bit. So let's stop that game. What we want to do is change some stuff. Where are my scripts? So that's the moving one. This is our shooting one. So we're logging out what we hit. And in this case, all we're going to do is remove the entity when it hits something so it doesn't carry on forever. Then we can test that out again. And we're going to fly out into space. Full throttle. And we're shooting the orange thing, which is hard to see. We're shooting that and crashing into it because there's no collision with the ship yet. We do need to add that. So that is just destroying my thing straight away. So I'm raycasting way too far. So something is still going wrong here. I rather suspected that there was. Why do I need to save my game again? We've got a small child grumbling next to me now. Cool. My ray is definitely going in the right direction. It's super inefficient right now because I'm creating and destroying stuff all the time. The ray length is a number or undefined. So that should be correct. Got a sad person. Oh wow, that's a big number. Considering this is not moving at all. So, why is it such a big number? Well, it has to be a giant current speed or a tiny frame delta. When we change speed, what speeds are we getting coming out of it? We're getting 0. So why does that work at all? Interesting. Oh, I'm logging out the wrong thing. That would help. Let's try that again. We're getting up 2000. So that is definitely... Oh. Okay, delta time is tiny. I want to multiply it to get... Speed is distance divided by time. So distance is speed multiplied by time, not speed divided by time. That's a silly mistake to make. Okay, so now this should work. Yay. And then we can fly out and like fly up close to stuff. And it should hit the side of this and get destroyed, which is good. And then the next thing we can do is just have some VFX that we spawn in just to show that hit. So let's just add that in. With the power of templates. I wonder if I have a good hit template in here that we can just repurpose. It'd be cool just to see it straight away. Let's get rid of my weird orange cube. And we need to get out the template for the projectile. And then what is this? SPP red. It was not. Okay. I just dropped something random into the game. Did I drop something random into the game? There's the particle cloud, builder guy, VFX. Santa's pesky present panic yellow is what that stands for. VFX present die. Ha, let's just try that, see what happens. Okay, that'll do for now. Tiny firework green is what that's called. But we'll get rid of that for now because we know what it is. It also has a pleasant tiny... What? Why can't I see it? Ah, dear. Fire mob particle trail pooled firework white, firework black. Let's just do firework white then, since the other ones didn't work. And then we actually need to do the logic to make it appear. And we know where it's going to appear because we have the hit position. And then we can do this game dot add entity from template, this dot hit fx get. So we just need to get the hit fx that we've set, and this exclamation mark means we're assuming that it'll definitely exist. Let's network this, but we don't want to network the transform update, and its position is going to be Set the entity position right now. And I guess the rotation we can set as well. Hello, Alex. How's it going? Long time no see. You've been quiet in Discord. Yeah, I did the math calculation for the distance that had been traveled that frame wrong. So now we should have some VFX hooked up. It's going to be very basic. Will we be able to see it at all? No, we do not see any VFX. Is that because I know why. It's because we probably have a whole bunch of errors in here as well now. Yep, so that crashed, and the reason it crashed is we've set the set the FX on here, but we haven't updated the template yet. So when we do that, then we can see everything. Hopefully. Ooh, okay, that was pretty excessive as far as these things go. But it looks pretty cool. I think we should tone down that that template a little bit, maybe. And I can probably just hit with one. That's pretty over the top. Can I hit the planets in the distance? Probably not. It would be amusing though. It feels like the first shot is extremely quick. But it is pretty fun. Right, let's just stop for a second. I can leave in half an hour. Oh, I can't. Actually, I've got to speak to Charlie. Okay, then no. My daughter is running in like one of the color run things. So is this actually the template? It is. So if we add like get rid of the fancy one. So this is what the ship everybody's flying around in looks like when you see everybody else. And I'm just going to add some collision to it so that when we shoot it, we can see that. So we have this box, and I'm just going to make it smaller. And I mean, that length's okay, I suppose. It's a pretty big target, is what I'm taking away from what I've done just there. And yeah, save this since it's saved in the game. So now when we get to the end of the thing, we'll actually be able to shoot each other, which would be kind of cool. But what I'm going to do now is tone down that VFX quite a bit. So we need to find the firework. Why? Like, I have all of these, but I guess some of them are just not set up. What was it? White firework. So you can see on here, we have the spatialized audio hack script. And I think it's actually using the wrong one. It's going to destroy our firework after a delay. It's going to play the sound effect straight away. It's going to give itself a random offset within 100 units. I don't actually want that. I do want it to do a random orientation though. That'd be cool. Got a particle effect on there. It's white right now, but it was enormous. Where is the thing? So that's the direction. That's the lifetime. Let's have it last a lot shorter. That's quite a lot of particles. This emitter is 2 by 2 by 2, which doesn't seem crazy. It's going to emit on the surface. That's fine. Gravity should not be enabled. Drag, we can have some drag, face the camera, and invisible in the depth pass. And then we have this generic explosion on there, which is fine too. So the spatialized audio hack probably should have a much higher roll-off value on it. A much lower reference distance. And if we go into the, whoops, I deselected the thing that I wanted. We go into here, we can rename it to SD hit VFX or hit FX since it's got sound in it. And what we want to do is unlink it from the current template, create a new template for it, and call it SD laser. I just do that. And now we can get rid of the F3 menu, get this, make it a hit FX, bring back the F3 menu, update the template, save it, and now we're cooking. So we're going to go in, it's going to be a big explosion. Oh, I've got my ship in the way. Hold on a second. I've broken something. So when I did this, third person seat offset, mirror local position. What does this even do? Do not understand what that script is on there for, which is always good. I think I broke my templates. I think the template that it was based on had more stuff on it, including the thing that hid it, which is interesting. That's putting the player in it. Let's see. Let's look at the scripts. That's somewhat annoying. Spawn ship third person. Okay, maybe it is actually on here. And it's going to mirror us. Spawn ship, set ship, has ship. That's correct. What did I use to hide it then? Because we want to hide it on there, and we also want to I would have sworn I would have hidden it on our local player. In fact, I definitely did, but I don't remember how I did it. Hide. There's the hide at start stuff and maybe some others. Surely I did something sensible here. Remove local rotation. Mirror local position. Spawn third person. Projectile hit. Hide on local, maybe? Let's see, local. Remove local rotation, mirror local position. Does anybody remember what the heck was going on? Hey, Jake, how's it going? I am making a spaceship dogfighting game and I have just broken my own resource and I don't remember how to fix it. So right now, the problem is the ship gets spawned. Sometimes the bullets do get out. If we go faster, maybe they'll escape. So that, yeah. That does sort of work. I'm really annoyed with myself, though. That is the worst thing that you can do. Stop. I want to see Shimmy. Yeah, there we go. Where's this guy? Yes, there you are. Right, so it just needs to be... Did I just mess up something in the spawning logic? Somehow? So we're going to add an entity from the template. It uses the ship template. Going to network spawning and network its position. We're going to send through its world transform position. We're going to send through the entity's rotation. And we're going to tell it to mirror our ship. So it's going to be positioned on top of our ship. Which is correct, which is what we wanted. So why doesn't it work? That is the question. This does actually have a collision volume set on it, which is interesting in itself. So from that position, like we added this on, so let's just remove that. And I wish I hadn't done this now. So you can see that this is adding this ship, which it wasn't doing before. So it's not the collision. Well, the collision will mess stuff up. Now we at least can shoot at stuff in the distance. We can see all of our projectiles. So I was hiding it somehow, and it was via a script on here. So hide at start. There's the Ashley version of it. Was it one of these? That just does that. Let's look at some of these scripts, because I had done this in a way that was sensible. Visible, visible, visible is the other one. It could be hide at start, different Ashley version. Visible. Am I just using, I'm probably using a script that isn't visible in this editor. That is probably what's going on here. Okay, let's save. And quickly run over to the admin editor to see if we can find it. Yeah, so some of our scripts, for a variety of reasons, aren't publicly accessible. And I've got a feeling that's what the problem is with this one. So you're getting a sneak peek behind the curtain of like some of the stuff that we also have access to. So now we can look at the scripts, and there's lots more stuff going on there. Hide at start. Well, that one is right at the very top. So, you know, owner only. There we go. That's what we want. Okay, so now when we play the game, we don't get that back. It also hides this one, which is interesting. I guess that's because, yeah, that's because it has this on there as well. So I don't make this mistake twice. I'm going to do the sensible thing and duplicate this guy. I'll remove this one and just make it purely cosmetic. And that way I cannot mess up and unlink it. It's not a template anymore. That way I can't mess it up, basically, again. So we'll just stay in the admin. No, we'll go back to the regular game version now. There, we sorted that out. So this also throws up an interesting point for like this sort of stuff. So we have one of these on us right now that isn't visible. And so if we add collision to that element, we're going to shoot ourselves. And so that's quite interesting as a conundrum. I think it's easy to fix though. So what we'll do is we'll get that ship template back out again. I wish this gave us pretty pictures. This is all okay. What was it I wanted to do? And basically it is mirrors it. This is the craft third person thing. In start, if this is owned locally, so if we're not the owner of it, we'll run away. Otherwise, we're going to add a tag. And we'll add the no raycast tag so we won't get hit by raycasts, which is kind of what we want. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how well that comes to bite us in the butt in the future. Do you want to join this game? Yeah, we'll do that in a second. Just as soon as I've done two things, we'll fly around and shoot each other for 15 minutes because that should be fun. So ship's no longer there and we're shooting the thing in the background. I just want to make the shooting less ridiculously OP. So in that sense, it's just the hit effects particle. I quite like that they're quite large. It's doing that. Its initial velocity is what's too high, I think. And we'll make the drag less. Okay, so that's much smaller. And we probably need to bring these down a bit. That's more like it. What does that look like at distance? Oh, I know what's going wrong there. So this is the thing when working with templates. You just need to make sure you remember to update them. And then we can go back out here and we can fire into the distance. So that's much smaller. And we probably want something roughly like that, I guess. So we're flying along and we're going to strafe this carrier. I think we're doing the effect at the wrong position. No. This is way better than what we had before. Woo! And so I guess the last thing, I mean, those are way too big still, right? Like that is a chunky explosion, but maybe that's okay. At some stage, we're going to have to go in and reconcile all of these like temporary things we've been putting in. Maybe we'll do like the stream. Oh yeah, because YouTube Alex goes in and tags stuff automatically for you. So it thinks that we're Roblox. Every time we're doing something, it keeps saying us as Roblox, which is very frustrating. Right now, like one of the things you have to do to get around that is to get a Wikipedia presence. And so we're working on getting .Big Bang recognized in Wikipedia. The main issue there is that you need to have a certain amount of notoriety to exist, and notoriety only is reflected in Wikipedia based on sources. So you've kind of got to meet their criteria for that. If we start off with a nice like deep orange color, we can end in a like lighter orange color. What does that look like? That's better. It matches at least the color of the projectile. And it was a bit big, I think, still. That'll do. Kind of like the density of it. How many particles in there? Just 200. That's good. Did the classic mistake. It's because it's not here. As soon as we get the, like in a few weeks time, all of this template stuff will be cleaned up, will be nicer, and we'll be in a better position in the editor. There we go. That's more like it. And you also get a sense of like the convergence as well. So if I fire like now, you can see it getting into like a good convergence range. Is it sometimes shooting itself? That's what I wonder there. So you can see we kind of almost want the convergence to be further out. Well, maybe not. I mean, like it depends on who you're shooting and that sort of thing. So like that's another like element of balance, right? It's like where the convergence is. I know what's going wrong with it. Yeah, okay. So two things, and then we can shoot one another. Ding ding. So that's good. We'll call this particle effect good right now. We want to do the ship again because it did have collision on it, and then we removed it, and then I forgot when we did this to actually add it back on again. We don't know if the change I made genuinely worked or not. I think we had a height of 3 and a width of like 13, maybe even less than that. And maybe we'll just take this down to 18 or something just to make it a bit tighter. To just update that. And then we can delete it again. Get rid of the F3 menu. We'll just make sure we're not going to shoot ourselves. Okay. Everything is going smoothly right now. Hello, Abel. How are you? Where was I at with all of this stuff? Let's see. We haven't done damage, but I think given that we only have 15 minutes left, damage is maybe just a bridge too far right now. Pew, 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 pew. So now let's shoot each other. And then we can talk about what we're going to do in the next stream before we finish. I'm going to drop this. When was the first version of DBB released? A long time ago. So .Big Bang as a project has been going for a long time. as a like commercial thing actually being developed, not as long. So as a commercial thing, it's only been developed for the last 3.5 years. Come in my game. I can see somebody. Q and E if you want to throttle up and down. E goes up, Q goes down. I can hear somebody shooting. I hope they're not shooting at me. Are you shooting from inside the hangar? Oh, no, you are shooting at me. Ah, there you are. I really need to put the throttle controls onto the gamepad. I'm going to come and shoot you, John. Ooh, that is painful how when you slow down, you can't turn as rapidly. Where has he gone? There he is. Okay. My logic to shoot you did not work, although there's no errors. And people are trying to destroy networked things, and there's loads of logging. So there's some bugs. Oh, I see somebody shooting at me. Let me just see what's going on with the collision on other people. Is that a person? No. Ship. Spaceship 1 does have a collision volume on it. So why is it not getting hit? This one's Spaceship 2. Ah, it's there. So I think like it's pretty fun because you try shooting each other. Yeah, I think it's just doing some stuff that, oh wow, somebody's on a bad connection. Ooh, and I'm just flying off into the middle of nowhere. It was quite interesting watching somebody shoot then. Basically, we're creating entities at an incredible rate right now, which is not ideal for... It's really frustrating that the ships aren't being hit. It's very, like, semi-confusing. Somebody's all the way over here and they've got me selected. Need to get around this way. So there's a few bugs. I'm doing a terrible job of getting my cross. So this is why we need some yaw in there. Because making this fine adjustment is very irritating without just some ability. Yeah, that's just going straight through you. And straight through me. Haha! Hey, Abel. So that needs to be fixed. How about next stream we mostly do some... I don't want to say mostly do some bug fixing, but we do some bug fixing. Because it feels like that's like the... that is something that's limiting things right now. Oh, would have scored some beautiful hits there. Yeah, just definitely need a little nudge of your. So I think it's like collecting together some things to do. And also we need UI indicators for where the ship is. Otherwise you're like lost in space like this. Here's somebody. And I think like some balancing of speed, because like, ha, amazing. It's super fun that you can see other people's shots trailing throughout past. But yeah, so like, just like starting to, whoa, no, evil. Stop deleting my ship. Right. That's enough of that. Stop editing my ship. I'm going in pew 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 too. So that's pretty cool. I mean, like we did get pew 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 working, so that's one thing. Let's just. I did have like a to-do list in a script, so let's find that. It's kind of disappointing that the hit stuff didn't work. I find that confusing at best. We can look at that as well. We've got like 10 minutes to go. It was in SD_weapon systems. So we did that. We haven't done damage yet, but we'll take that out here now because it'll be another place. So yeah, we're aiming in the right place. We're shooting in the right place. We have the gun convergence and everything done. Let's get our ship out and just debug quickly a bit why that wasn't getting hit, because it does still have a collision volume on it. Did get hidden here, so that could be slightly vexing. So for this one, we can toggle off the owner only thing on it, and it won't work. That's kind of weird. Oh yeah. We actually just want to remove that component. That's what we want to do. There we go. So that can be our target for right now. Yeah, like it's because everybody in a multiplayer game that can be edited shares the same set of entities that make up the level. They're not networked. So that includes the cockpit and the camera and all those sorts of things. If you edit those, then it edits it for everybody, which is kind of like the funny thing about it. So we have that guy sitting in here. Let's go shoot it. Oof, pardon me. I bet you we could be able to shoot it now. Interesting. We can't shoot it now. Well, that's at least consistent. If we make the collision volume dynamic, can we shoot still? If we do this, we probably can. No. No. We are yet dead on top of it. Just voxel collision. Just go straight through it. How peculiar. So it does have the collision volume on there. It's priority 0. Can have it on any one of these things you like. It's on layer 0. And we can't shoot it. where is this coming from? That's in our network log. Right. So we have the SD projectile hit script. We're logging the distance. We don't actually want that anymore. It's not even giving good information. So it should be just putting a hit there if it hits it. It's not hitting it. That's so confusing. Let's save the game. So everything's set up right. Let's reload the game. Let's see if I can hit it now. Yeah, there's no damage in yet, Abel. Yeah, I'm just testing this out because I want to get it working well, is the idea. Need to stop. Right, let's park not inside of it. That we might be just far enough out the back now. Couldn't get much closer. So we might actually not be able to hit it because we're so close. But you can see very much it's going straight through irregardless of our settings. This right now is on voxel object. We make it box. Still goes through. This feels like it's like an engine bug, he said, blaming the engine. So both of those are definitely going into that box. If we make it a sphere, both of those are definitely going into that sphere, and it's not working. Is there any crazy script reason why that's not working? Projectile hit is creating the new ray. Get entities with collider intersecting the ray. The only thing I can think of is it's not in the world. Like, this definitely is a collider existing in the world. A lozenge, for the sake of weird arguments. This is definitely one of the things I guess we'll be puzzling about next time. So I think there's a bit of like consolidation and neatening up and starting to make things, starting to decide what happens next after we get the damage working. Like just some design stuff next time as well. That is mad though. I mean, I want to add the logging in there, but like I know it's pointless because it's not hitting it. Let's try adding it to every single layer possible. And now shooting it. Still not hitting it. Try making it priority 10. I don't think that's going to have any difference on this. That's a really weird thing. Oh, I tell you what's going on. So it's adding the no raycast tag on there. So there's that. If I take the no raycast tag off, then we should be able to hit it. So it's that logic I made. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that that tag addition shouldn't be sent across the network. So it's my fault. If this is not locally owned, return, otherwise add the tags. Console.log adding tags to peer this dot entity, whoops, owning peer dot id dot user dot handle. So let's do a bit of multiplayer debugging for the last 2 minutes. Going to have that attractive session name. No raycast stable stops something from receiving raycasts. So if I look in here, I have in my logs none of this stuff. Did I not save that script? Adding tags to peer. Interesting, interesting. I should have made mine. Adding tags to peer met 11t1. Good. Adding tags to peer met 11t1. Can somebody else join in here and fly out the hangar door for me? All right, somebody else joined. Adding tags to peer met 11t1. Adding tags to peer met 11t1. I didn't add any tags on my machine. So if I just pause the game quickly and find the ships. They're in here. Spaceship 1 has no raycast, no raycast, no raycast, no raycast. Yeah, so that's the thing, is that everybody's getting no raycast applied to them. I wonder if we network the tags now then, because I'm not seeing anything in there. Who's changed my thing to yellow? It'd be handy if you're coming in to try stuff out or help me out, that you just don't edit the game, because obviously, you know, if you want to edit the game, you can make your own single player version of it. But obviously, if you make a version, for me, if I make a version like this and I'm trying to fix stuff, so I want to edit and save things. If you're editing things as well, you'll break stuff. And what I'll do is stop people from being part of working on this sort of stuff. You can't see any other player when you're playing. It's probably just because people were somewhere weird. But I have to finish now because I need to go speak to Charlie. Thank you very much for watching the stream. We'll be fixing this and a slew of other things next time. And probably, well, definitely starting working on like damage and ship destruction. And I think just tweaking some of like the speed of the ships and that sort of thing. So we're flying around a bit quicker because I think it's pretty slow so far. You can't move when someone edits you. Yeah, it depends on what they're doing. Like if they're moving you around, then yeah, you wouldn't be able to move, and so on. But yeah, like, so essentially, like what I might do is log in as a different account that doesn't have editing permissions if we're going to play together or test something, just so that we don't have that problem of people just going in and randomly editing. Is awesome. Thank you everybody for showing up and watching, because it's great to have an audience to do this stuff. Yeah, I mean, like it's fine to want to adjust the speed of stuff. It's fine to want to edit things. But the problem you cause is that you doing that for yourself affects everybody else. And when we're trying to do things, like I'm trying to make this game essentially, and kind of the point of this is to make a game and show people like how straightforward it is, how easy it is to do a .big bang, and how you'd go about it. But if I'm constantly trying to fight other people that are editing things whilst I'm trying to do that, it means I'm chasing things around and trying to fix them if I don't notice that it's happening. And so that's the problem with like editing, because it's all multiplayer and shared. But if I invite you into my game session, essentially I'm expecting you to just follow the things that I would like to do. Otherwise, I'll just stop inviting people into them, right? That's the bottom line there. And we'll work out some other way of joining together, or we'll only do it at the end when I don't intend to do anything, and I'll do all of my debugging locally. So that's, yeah, basically one tiny rant at the very end. But thank you very much for showing up, and I will catch you all same time next week, 1 p.m. on Wednesday UTC 0, which is some other time in other time zones, but there'll be another one of these to catch up and wang a notification on. Thank you very much. See you later.